The old walker keeps missing. It's fouling a plug in this front cylinder. See a little bit of oil in there, so it's running off of one cylinder. So it's about time for a new motor or a new walker. I'm pretty cheap, so I'm probably gonna just rebuild it. Dang it. Can never get ahead in this business. What's going on, guys? Here it is, January, and it's pretty warm. Pretty much what I've been doing the last week or two is spraying our warm season grasses, our dormant grasses, with if it's a mix, if it's not all Bermuda, if it's Centipede, St. Augustine mixed with Bermuda, or St. Augustine, Centipede, Zoysia, any of that. Been pretty much spraying most of that stuff, not exclusively, but the main thing I've been spraying on those is a mix of atrazine and methylfuron methyl. On the Bermuda yards, the dormant Bermuda yards that are 100% Bermuda, I've been spraying them with glyphosate and 2,4-D, and in both cases I've been using a methylated seed oil for a surfactant to really penetrate in cooler weather, although it's not really cooler weather right now. But there's some fescue out here, obviously. But I've been trying a different kind of biostimulant on this, and I'm seeing some good results. I'm gonna hold judgment for a while and make sure that it's not some of the other things I've been doing that's mainly pushing this off, and this color and everything. Color, I don't know if it's really showing on the video. They give me the color here. In person is tremendous. But anyway, that I might even be able to make that biostimulant available to the viewers and pros. I mean, it's definitely a professional product. It's expensive, but it's very small quantities, so shipping and all that stuff won't really be a hassle. Anyway, I figured today I talk a little bit about some of the tools we use, just the paraphernalia you got to have to make this happen. And you don't have to have a lot of complicated stuff to spray yards. Most of what you need is right here. But you can do a lot of reading, a lot of research before you start in spraying. And there's so many different situations, scenarios to get into. It's hard to get it all covered. But I'll show you a couple of the little gadgets I use. It's nothing real exciting here, but anyway, stay tuned. I'll show you a little bit from some footage I shot on some of the warm season yards I sprayed earlier in the day, and then we'll get back and talk about some of these sweet tools. All right, the wind's howling out here now, but I decided to turn on the camera. At least I got it sprayed. I've been working on this place for a year now, and they're going to renew, but I mean, it's not spotless right now, but it did it did look just like their neighbor's stuff before I started, and the grass wasn't all that thick, but we've been working on it, trying to grow some grass. But that's what it did look like, if that gives you any clue. Yeah, it looks like this. Let's check out the back. And there's the back. That's pretty clean. Goes way on back there. Anyway, well, I got one next door too, and I've been doing that one. That would have been a year in about September, but this one's looking a lot better too, and had a real challenge trying to grow. Sorry, I'm bouncing around. A real challenge trying to grow the grass in on that one. Check that one out too. This is part of the yard next door here, but this whole area out here was the nicest Kalinga lawn you'd ever want to see. But in 1 year we got it cleaned up and got some Bermuda growing in it. Yeah, this one's all Bermuda. It's really clean, actually. There's a few things popping up in it. This would be a good candidate to get the glyphosate and 2,4-D on. I did not pre-emerge this. I'm not a huge fan of running a pre-emergent every single time, all the time. I think it's a good idea to give it a break, or to alternate, you know, to run you a pre-emergent every other year even. if you have problems, by all means put your pre-emergent down. But I don't want to start too much stuff, but I see problems with just constantly putting down a pre-emergent, and eventually you're just going to be all your weeds are going to be immune to that stuff anyway, and you're causing problems with growing in your favorable turf, root pruning and all that. But this one got monument in the mid-late summer and has stayed really clean ever since. So there's a few things popping out, but we get them handled. We'll get them handled. I might put a pre-emergent on it about February. All right, just some basic stuff here. Like this is a quart measuring beaker. It's just a plastic beaker with the measurements down the side. This one I specifically use for glyphosate. I got it marked on the bottom. I try not to cross these up too much. I got, I'll use one for cool season grass stuff, one for warm season grass, and I got a gallon one somewhere in here that I use for biostimulants, and a half-gallon one. The gallon one is a little awkward to handle, so I don't use it that much. But with these, I like to use this one mainly. This is what you're gonna have 99% of the time with your herbicides, because most of the time I work in acre math. I don't do much stuff per thousand because I spray with permagreen, and it's easier for me just to look at the perm. If I'm going to spray something smaller, fill the permagreen up a quarter of the way and say I'm working with a quarter or acre versus however many thousand square feet. But 99% of the time I'm filling the permagreen up to the full load and spraying an acre with it. So most of your three-way herbicides and that kind of stuff, you're going to have 4 pints to the acre. So you put a full one of these on each side and rock and roll. It's just how I like to handle it. You see that one's all gunky white. Any of y'all that have ever sprayed atrazine, you know what that's all about. Stuff's all sticky and gooey. Here's a half-gallon measurer. I use this for the biostimulants most. I got a gallon one too, but that's a little awkward to handle and pour. But most of the time when you're using your Green County products and stuff like that, you're going to be up 2 gallons an acre, gallon an acre, whatever. So you want a bigger cup. A lot of these dry water dispersible granule herbicides will have their own measuring beaker. That's a methylfuron measuring beaker. There's a Celsius one that's just in the cap, and this, I don't know if you can see that, but I have a hard time seeing the numbers on those. This is one, this is a handy one that I don't know that I've seen a lot of folks have. That's for prodiamine, so you don't have to weigh it. You can just go by that scale right there. And then, sometimes you do have to weigh them. And there's just a little digital scale that breaks down. You can put it in grams, ounces, parts of an ounce, whatever. But what you do is you put your measuring device on there empty, tear it out, zero it out, whatever you want to say it. So with your device on there, it's reading empty. Then you add your stuff and it gives you a pretty accurate measurement there. And when you put these things in the tank, you're gonna want to mix them up. So I got this thing on the drill. That's just a paint stirring deal. Or you can use just about any kind of rod or stick, just a PVC pipe. You put it down there and stir it. One helpful tool that I do when I'm spraying things like methylfuron or prodiamine or even Celsius, any of these water dispersible granules, I have some empty, it's just an empty gallon jug, and I mark them for what I've been using them for, but I'll fill them up with some water and put my granules in there, my 1 acre load, shake it up real good, and I might even, if I know I'm gonna go out, like what I've been doing is I've been keeping a full jug of this with a 1 acre load of methylfuron in it, dissolved up and ready to go, and just dumping it in the tank. And when I dump it in, go ahead and fill it up again, and that way every time I reload I've got some, and I'm sure it's in solution already, and it's just easier to shake it up in something like this versus than it is to stir it but make sure you mark it and don't get it confused with something else. You're gonna need some nitrite gloves, however you say that. But these are some Semper Force. These are the sand glove of badasses. That's important. You don't want to put this stuff on your hands and stick them in your eyes. I have a habit of scratching my face all the time or picking my nose or whatever, and you don't want to do that. All right, well, that's just a few of the things. I'll show you this till I turn it around. That's all my measuring and stirring devices. But I'll show you I keep a nurse tank in the truck that I just keep water in, and it's super simple gravity fed deal, and I can just load up my permagreen and roll. If I was so inclined and wanted to clean the nurse tank out all the time, I could go ahead and pre-mix in the nurse tank and just roll up and dump it in the permagreen. But we cross a lot of different kinds of turf here, and I don't like to have to clean tanks all the time, so I just put water in it and just worry about cleaning the permagreen when I go from turf type to turf type. I'll show you my nurse tank. Okay, back of my truck is a giant mess, but this is a 65-gallon tank with feet on it and a little sump down there, and I've got a banjo elbow with a barb on it, and it's running to a pretty good sized piece of line here. And then I got a banjo fitting in it. I can cut it on and off, and I can just take this over into my tank and dump it in. But I got a cigar in my mouth, that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, that works very nice. And the 65-gallon is a good size to roll out with the permagreen. That's about all you want to fill the permagreen up before you leave, and then run that tank out, and you've pretty much done a good day's work. Make some cash. Where you're really going to want to get into something like this digital scale, is if you spray a lot of, if you're backpacking a lot of granular stuff like Celsius, Monument, Methyl-Furon, you're really going to want to try to measure it with something like this, because it's breaking down into such small parts of an ounce. You'll never measure that in a cup. You'll have to weigh it. So you backpackers, you got to get you one of these. This is just a kitchen scale, actually. I mean, it's nothing fancy. They make fancier ones with wind blocks and everything else on them, so they'll be super precise. But this has pretty much served me for anything I've ever needed, so it's been fine. I think I got it at Shays Walmart, so check that out. Some more of the grass here, the secret biostimulant. Pretty good colors, phenomenal. All right, I'm gonna make this is the last application I'm gonna make today. This is Edgefield Plantation. This fescue is off the ropes, buddy. This is some of the best fescue I've ever had. If you followed along with the videos, I actually this was a centipede yard, and I killed it off and put this fescue in, but I made videos on all the applications I did to it and the seeding process. But it is on fire, man. I put the last application here was the Carbon X with the peptides in it. Today I put just the regular Carbon X on it because I don't have any of the peptide Carbon X. But let's take a look at some of this grass. This stuff is hot. Yes, sir. It looks great out here. I'm super happy with this. All right, well, there's just a little bit of what I had going on today, and showed you some of the high-tech tools, you know, cups and stuff like that we use to spray with. Appreciate you guys watching. See you on the next one. Oh, don't forget, we're gonna have brand new permagreen down at Longcology for test rides at the open house or the early part of Longcology at Greene County Fertilizer, and we'll have the new Triumph in the hotel at Longcology too. So come to Longcology, check that stuff out.